Good evening and welcome to round 2 of our 1978 USAC Championship. Coming to you tonight from Ontario Motor Speedway, the Indianapolis of the West, and with me in the booth for a bit of a pre-race chat is Jason White. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Jonathan. Thank you as always for broadcasting our USAC series, where the only right turn you make is exiting the pit box. We're at Ontario Motor Speedway, the Big O, the Indy of the West. And we're actually, this is 1978, so in another 2 years, this track would be no more, unfortunately.
But that was a big waste, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, it was a typical situation going on in California at the time. The land outside of LA was increasing in value, and the economics of the situation didn't make sense because they were losing money on the circuit. Ticket returns and money they were taking on just wasn't matching expectations from what I've read, and in the end it was a similar fate that later on befell Riverside, where the land was just too valuable to keep it as a racetrack, so they bulldozed it. But yeah, it was an incredible facility, state of the art at the time. The architecture is very modern, and everyone really likes the pavilion. It's kind of like curved shape that has all of these beautiful garages pointing at one roundabout that leads you out onto the pit straight, and of course it incorporated a really nice road course and a drag strip, so it was a full-on racing facility, just fantastic. And unfortunately just not long for this earth, but we get to recreate it here for this race, and we got one other race we're going to use this track for, the California 500 later in the year. This is a 200 miler tonight, which is going to be no less challenging than a 500 mile. It's a different situation because we got fuel saving that we're going to be considering. Not that we wouldn't in a 500 miler, but there are aspects of this that are going to feel like a sprint. But the problem is you're going to have to really be careful how much fuel you use and not be too greedy with the boost knob.
For sure. And I've just brought up the track map for us to look at, and I noticed you've included the road course layout in the infield section, and this is obviously a 2.5 mile oval. 200 miles will cover 80 laps.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've understood, you'll need to do 26 laps if you want to be very precise in how many laps you do per tank of fuel in the car.
Yeah, it's for those of us who are using imperial measurements, your target at the end of each lap is to use 1.5 gallons a lap. No more than that. If you use more than that, you're not on pace to make the race on the allowed fuel. That assumes, of course, that there are no yellows, which we don't think will happen. There's probably going to be at least one, maybe two. But if you definitely want to have the ability to turn the boost up or to run with no impediments towards the end of the race. And so the smart thing that some people will probably end up doing is letting some other poor guy be the workhorse at the front, running a higher boost level to maintain the lead, and meanwhile they cut their boost back and just keep slipstreaming up on this person on the long straights, just enough to stay in contact, and meanwhile they're saving fuel. So I haven't spoken to my teammate Adam about this, but if we find ourselves in a situation where we're leading, I mean, I wouldn't be averse to doing kind of a version of what goes on in modern IndyCar racing, where teams actually they kind of exchange positions occasionally to try to help each other save fuel. So if I find myself in that situation, maybe we can try some of that, but it's all going to be predicated on how many yellows there are, how long the yellows last. So that's the big X factor. If we have a bunch of crashes, then the fuel question is going to become a moot point for a lot of people. And it'll be good news for the people running the 4-cylinder engines, because they can't make the fuel economy they need with the boost that the Cosworths are running. So the one positive thing, if there are a bunch of incidents, is that people will be able to turn the boost up. On the other hand, if there aren't a lot of incidents and there's a lot of green, it's going to make the end of the race really interesting, because don't be surprised if you see some people run out of fuel with 1 lap to go or 2 laps to go.
So we would get, was it when, I'm completely blanking on the name now, but I believe it was like 2011 at Indianapolis. I think 2-3 guys ran out of fuel, and in the end, the guy who had saved enough fuel won the race. And I believe Kenny Breck had a similar situation as well when he won in 1998.
Yeah, I mean, IndyCar racing, this wasn't just a late 70s thing. IndyCar racing, the history of it, especially in the kart era, was all about, setting a fuel limit, calculating how much fuel you had to use, and that was basically what, if they didn't do that, in theory, the better funded teams could have just turned up the boost and run away from everybody.
Indeed.
And the idea was, and there is an altruistic angle to it as well. I mean, it promoted the notion that you try to do the best with what you have, and if racing is supposed to improve the breed of passenger car, then this is an incentive to increase fuel economy. So there was that too. So, but the funny thing is, I was talking to Alberto about this a while back. It's funny how the series that we have, 84 DRM, 78 USAC, and 86 F1, they're all real kind of, they're all, the theme of this year seems to be fuel saving and fuel strategy, because all 3 of those series have some measure of that you have to consider. So.
Certainly, I think the one not being as much so would be the DRM cars, because some of the cars can run a lot faster while not producing as quick a lap time, but not having to worry as much about the fuel. But for sure, the fuel is definitely a big thing this year.
Yeah. In this race in particular, and I believe you have a graphic to show it, for 200 miles, you're allotted 3 full tanks of fuel. So you'll start with whatever fuel you put in the car to start with. I don't think starting the race with less than a full tank is a good idea. But in any case, you have 120 gallons to use, and you cannot use any more than that. There's no setting in AMS that allows us to limit the amount of fuel you can take on during the race. If there was, it'd be easy, but we have to go in and check everybody after the race to make sure that they didn't use more than they were supposed to. So.
And luckily for us, there is a quick calculation for us to do that. So it's definitely helpful when there's at least a way to get around that kind of limit to be put in. Also, something I thought we'd bring up while you're here, Jason, is your keys to the race.
Oh yeah.
Where the first one is, as we've discussed already, watch your fuel mileage very closely.
Yeah, it's and it's harder than it sounds, especially on a track like this. I mean, Phoenix, it was hard because there's always action happening all the time. Same thing here. It's high speed action, but it's very easy to get wrapped up in some kind of a battle and forget to look at, because every time you cross the line in AMS, it shows you how much fuel has been used on that lap, and you've got to glance down and look at that. You at least want to have some idea along the way of how you're doing. And if you do several laps where you're 1.5 or higher, you know that you probably want to be a little more conservative on the next few ones and try to get it down below there. So yeah, that's definitely going to be on everybody's mind for sure, even the Cosworth runners.
And point 2 would be, don't assume the driver you are lapping sees you or has seen you, because with the speed that everyone is carrying and obviously the fuel thing to keep in mind, the driver in front of you may be too taxed to also keep an eye on the mirror at all times.
Yeah, it's some of these cars don't have a lot of downforce, the older ones, and keeping the car at speed through the corner is more difficult for those drivers. So you have to really be on the ball. There may be a situation where they're coming through a corner and suddenly the car gets loose and they have to lift or do something, and suddenly the closure rate increases a lot. There's that, and just they may be so busy focused on trying to keep the car going through the corner properly that they may not realize you're there. So you have to be careful. Always assume that the guy doesn't see you or girl does not see you where you are, because it's just, if you make an assumption, you're taking a chance, I think.
Hmm. And something we've seen a lot in practice here, especially for me since I've been on the server, is practice entering the pit lane at speed, because the transition from banking to pit entry and the kind of speed you're carrying, as I can see in the background, someone spinning on pit entry actually, it can very easily spit you sideways and you're gone.
Yeah, we can't emphasize enough how critical it is to enter the pit lane cautiously. If you try to just like zip into it without any reduction in speed, you are going to lose the back end of the car, period. We've seen some people trying to do it gently and still spinning the car. I found that, at least for my situation, if I keep it below 150, I'm okay. But it is scary still to do that, because the back end feels wiggly when you do that. So, well, I'm going to leave you, Jonathan, so I can get situated in the car for qualifying, which is coming up in about 2.5 minutes. But thank you again for broadcasting, and hello to everybody on YouTube. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show, and hopefully Adam and I will have a good result for the captain today. We'll see how it goes.
Certainly. Thank you very much for joining me, and best of luck in your races.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. Take care.
You too.
User disconnected from your channel.
So that was Jason White getting ready for qualifying, which takes place in a couple of minutes, and I believe we will have time to have a look at a couple of the laps they will be doing, while still having a look at a couple of other things I thought we'd want to have a quick gander at. First and foremost, the points situation, this being a 200-mile points race. The winner will take with them 400 points, second will score 320, third 280, fourth 240, fifth 200, sixth 160, seventh 120, eighth 100, and then it drops by 20 points from 8th down to 12th, 20 points per scored position. And then 13th to 16th will score 10 points, 17th to 20th will score 8, 21st, 24th, 6th, 25 to 28th, 4 points, and that is as many cars as we have for this race, I believe. So 27 drivers, and the least points anyone will score is 4 points tonight, which I think a few drivers at least will be quite happy with. And let's also have a look at the top 5 in the standings, which will be as they finished last time out, with Cesariusz Szlapinski leading the championship on 300 points, David Yates second on 240, Jakob Fröksen lies third on 210, Mikey Grams with an impressive debut finished 4th and scored 180 points, and the ever-consistent Adam Hackman finished 5th, scoring 150 points. And I know also we didn't quite have time to have a look at all the cars that was in the race last time out, so let's see if we can have a as we can see, Juha Boos having a loose moment coming onto the start-finish straight. He actually survived that, impressively enough. Well, partly survived it, I suppose. Looks like he may have suffered a suspension failure of some kind there. I'm trying to see what cars we have or may not have looked at, but I suppose while we wait for qualifying to start, we could just as well do it like that for now, and I'll bring up a little cheat sheet I have laying about to talk with you a little bit about the engines. Because by 1978 the main concern for the teams was the fuel use, as we've discussed already, as the restrictions imposed by USAC meant that the driver had to play during all the race with a boost knob and watch the temperatures if running too lean, which resulted in many failures and breakdowns. For the purposes of our sim racing season and due to the limitations of the game engine, there will be 5 boost settings adjustable from cockpit. The cars should be able to do the race in principle only one on the first 2. The cars should be able to do the race in principle only on the first 2 ones, that being the boost levels, and depending on the driver's ability to save fuel thanks to his driving technique, draft, or the amount of caution periods, have more or less leeway to be liberal with a boost for overtaking or towards the end of the race. So the Cosworth DFX V8 engine. The Cosworth was the engine to have, up to 900 horsepower in qualifying trim and good fuel consumption. The only Achilles heel was its more peaky nature, lacking the mid-range punch of the 4-cylinder engines. The Foyt V8, which was formerly the Ford V8, still maintained by Foyt obviously. The former 1972 Ford V8 design was at the peak of its possibilities and quite comfortable on the boost restriction of the late 70s. In all aspects similar to the DFX, but with some 50 horsepower less at 850, although the sleek and aerodynamic design of the Coyote made up for the big part of that difference. The Drake V8 was the swan song of the Offenhauser factory. It was a desperate move to stay in the game with a completely new design of V8. It had some brilliant ideas and went in the straight direction, but it was too little too late. And with a rather bad reliability of an untested fully new design. The SGD, which we mentioned a couple of cars having, is based on an idea from Art Sparks implemented by Leo Goosen and Dale Drake of Offenhauser. The angle between valves was reduced and the combustion dramatically improved, resulting in a respectable 850 horsepower on the strict USAC fuel and boost rules. While not enough to qualify at the top, the combination of the Wildcat chassis and a mid-range punch made it quite efficient at short tracks, where Gordon Youngcock scored victories and podiums, as well as in road courses, which we will see during the season. The Offenhauser 4-liter was so good in the base design that this venerable 4-cylinder would have been able to continue dominating the field had it enjoyed unlimited boost and fuel use rules. But on the limits imposed by USAC, it had at best a 75 horsepower deficit to the Cosworth, with similar or higher fuel consumption, and was hence hopeless. And we also have one last engine, the AMC V8 stock block. And the American Motors Corporation promoted itself heavily in US motorsports in the early 70s, taking part in the iconic Trans Am series and also venturing into NASCAR, but also kept an eye on the top series of USAC racing. When the rules of stock blocks relaxed, they decided to enter some experimental engines, which actually did perform quite well thanks to the increased displacement. But by 1978, they had not gone any further than they had started, and veteran Roger McCluskey only entered part of the schedule in an old Eagle 74 equipped with a 208 CI stock block. The engine propelled the car to quite decent pace, but the rest of the combo meant it never was able to materialize the potential. And I believe that car is driven in the series by Jason Fetch for the full season. Let's see if we have anyone about to settle up. Let's have a ride on board with Cesar Shlapinski as he heads through 3 and into 4, and I'll stay quiet as he does his lap. So Cesarius looks to be in deep trouble, 1.1 second off, and he hit the barrier, so possibly some damage on the car. That said, he is 11th at the moment, but I think he'd like to be a little bit further up. Ooh, as he loses it. So definitely some damage on the car, so 11th will be the best he can do. As I can see that Alberto Equino, actually, the junior in the family, has gone fastest yet. Let's see if there's anyone else on the way that could possibly make a difference in it. It doesn't look like it, so it looks like Alberto Equino in the Interscope Racing number 25 will take pole position here for the Ontario, for the complete brain fade. For the Datsun Twin 200. Nice to see you here, Berlin. I hope I can see we have 12 viewers already, so thank you very much for tuning into this one. I hope the race will be good, and as Berlin mentioned, happy Valentine's to all of you. I hope you're having a great Sunday with a lot of love in your lives, and as good as one can hope it to be in these current trying times. So by the looks of things, Alberto Quino, then Jason White for Penske, Juha Bors 3rd, David Yates 4th, Ferguson 5th, Shura 6th, Ibanez 7th, Hackman 8th, Canola 9th, and Mikey Grems rounding out the top 10. So more or less the usual suspects in the top 10, but some very impressive pace overall by everyone. And here we have actually the AMC powered Eagle 74 for Jason Fitch. Oh, and I gotta say, that is a sweet sounding engine. Ooh, as he has a spin as he tries to come off the pit apron. That is a very tricky exit as well as the entry for that one. So I'm not surprised that we may see one or two spinners as they exit the pit lane. And we have in the field Aniel May back racing in the oval here in the venerable Volstedt in 78 trim. This car was first seen racing in 1973, I believe, actually 77 trim, my apologies. The brilliant engineer Roland Volstedt kept pumping out new designs during the 70s for cars that never failed to be solid and easy to drive, but usually lacked funding to be equipped with top engines and material. In the capable hands of veteran Dick Simon, the car was always a midfield contender. And I believe that car has a Offenhauser, so definitely not one of the better engines, unfortunately, for Aniel May or Dave Miller. Both of them lined up to race that particular car during the season. But I know that Dave Miller and Angel is working very hard on that particular car, so it should be consistent, if nothing else, for them both to partake in this one. Let's see if we can find either of the Watsons while we still have time. Here we have it, the August Watering Watson car. Looks just like a Dart, and I do quite like the color scheme, I must say. Driven in real life by Tom Bagley, and it has an Offenhauser powering it. The Watson 7778, I believe this is the 77 car, was a clone copy of the Lightning Mark 1. I believe that is the one David Yates is... No, it's not. It is the kind of car Martin Lacina is driving, for example, and Raoul Jereb. With a custom rear wing with extended side plates, the Watson 78, on the other hand, was a new design with the same rear wing, but unfortunately not improving the performance. A midfield car that feels more nervous and agile, which should be helpful in short tracks and road courses, so probably not very good on this particular track. And pardon me while I just have a quick look to see if there's any car we did not look at previously. Oh, as we can see, the August Watering had a bit of an off in this warm-up session. Here we have Juha Bors in a Penske PC5, which is more or less a McLaren M24, but it was the first try for Penske to make their own chassis to some extent, and it made them realize and know what they needed to do for the PC6, which Jason White and Adam Hackman are driving, and both of them clearly doing quite well with that particular chassis and engine combination. And the Russ Polak Racing Penske PC5 is powered by a Cosworth. So definitely have the power plant to do well here tonight. And in terms of a winner, I'm honestly not sure, but I think it would be not very smart to not bet that Jason White is probably going to do quite well here tonight. I know he's prepared very well indeed. And I notice the second of our female drivers, Dana Schurer, is up there in fourth at the moment, so enjoying her driving and her drive in the M24. Oh, but touching the apron there, that's not what you want to do. That is a very dangerous proposition, which could very well see drivers falling off the road, as we saw Raoul Jereb in front of them in the Lightning, very, very loose in 4. So clearly still some drivers struggling with a full fuel tank in the cars, because that around here will make a huge difference in how the cars feel. Ooh, there's a very tight pit entry there for one of the cars behind. Let's see, we have Simon Watman, who I believe is one for the Machinist Union car, which will be interesting to see. Simon often signing up on the late side, but very consistent whenever he drives, so will be interesting to see how he gets on tonight. There's Jules Bochard in the other Watson, and there we could really see from the side the extended side plates, making it look like a very, very huge rear wing indeed. And Luciano Rocha in the Finley Vatis Enterprises, which I believe is another one of the one-offs, the Finley Eagle more or less 72 spec chassis, but updated obviously with wings and the like to try and make the car more competitive, but sadly for Finley the Enterprise was not quite as successful as they would have liked. But other than Jason White as a possible winner, we can see that that Alberto is definitely hauling that VPJ chassis way up the grid and at a very high speed indeed in race trim. So, looks like Alberto will be difficult to beat tonight if we go by pace alone. Now Admiral Hackman up there as well, so generally speaking, I believe any Cosworth is definitely in with a shot if it's a fully green race. If it's not a full green, then whoever can play the strategy the best is probably going to win. And it has to be said, Jason White has done a bit of the work, and obviously Alberto Ibanez, and they've done a masterstroke on this particular track, I must say, looking really, really nice. And we can see there is a few cars that has been sparking on the right hand side, and it's one of those strange little bits that will be interesting to see how that turns out. And there we can see the roundabout and all the sponsors for this event and the Ontario Motor Speedway. Let's see. Everyone is starting to line up for the green flag, so let's see. We have Alberto Aquino on pole position with Jason White in second, Johan Bors third, David Yates fourth, Ferguson fifth, Schurer sixth, Ibanez Senior seventh, Hackman in eighth, Thiago Canola ninth, Mikey Grams rounding out the top 10 with Ray Riddle in 11th, Schlapinski 12th, Lazina 13th, Jareb 14th, Riddle in 15th, August Watering 16th, Jason Fitch in the AMC in 17th, that's very impressive indeed, Brun Chacon in 18th, Petr Hlavac in 19th in the M16, Whited in 20th, Jules Bochard 21st, Samuel Watman 22nd, Ainin May 23rd, Junt 24th, so Junt is racing, that's nice to see. Rocha in 25th, Richard Wilkes 26th, Ryan Walker with no time in 27th, and he is the final one of our runners. And the Corvette Stingray safety car going around leading the field around this formation lap. as we can see that safety car struggling to get down onto the apron. Probably not the only vehicle today that will struggle with that, but hopefully everyone will survive this one and have a good race as we are coming around turn 4 and getting ready for green flag and 80 laps or 200 miles of this Ontario Motor Speedway. As the green is out and we are underway. And look at that massive field of cars, almost 5 wide in the lower ends of the top 10. It looks like Ryan Walker had a good start there. Notice he was up quite a few positions already. It looks like Alberto Quina has been able to hold on to his lead. Johan Boos up into second, with Alberto Senior in third. So a good start for the All-American Races driver and the Interscope car, as well as Johan Boos, obviously. White in fourth, Ferguson fifth, as they have finished one lap of this 2.5 mile oval. It looks like it's a clear cut with around the top 20 running away towards the front, and the what I suppose you could call the also runners in the older machinery in a group of their own. Where someone has had a spin in the back of the field, it looks like. Martin Lacina is already out. Oh dearie me, let's see if we can find out what happened there very quickly. Looks like he may have started from the pits. Oh, we picked up a lot of damage somewhere. Oh dear, he entered the corner together with, I believe that is Jareb indeed, and both of them makes contact. And I'm afraid they are possibly teammates. So Lacina with a spin towards the inside of the grid of the track, and unfortunately unable to recover from there. So Alberto Quino enjoying a almost 2.5 second lead ahead of Johan Boos in second. Then Jason White, Alberto Ibanez and Jacob Fredriksson running together third, fourth, fifth. And then Jakes trying to tag along in sixth in his Wildcat. Ray Riddle in the sole Lola in the field in seventh, with Slapinski in eighth, Schure in ninth, and Thiago Canola rounding out the top 10. Looks like he's probably lining up for a pass, but he is not. But there is a pass going on here. Hackman up into 12th, Grant Riddle down into 13th at the moment. And then we have Jareb and Watering and White together, and Hlavac as well. And while it's nice to have a bit of a scrap, I think it's not helping him. Oh, Hlavac, I believe, has blown his engine. He has, and he spins. So dear me, this could cause trouble. Thankfully, he stays up in the high side, but Jason Fitch has a big loose moment trying to avoid some debris and Hlavac's stricken car. So unfortunately Hlavac out on lap 4 with a blown engine, but at least, I suppose the way to look at it is that at least no one else got caught up in that incident by the looks of things. So unfortunately Hlavac is our second retiree of this race. As we have Wattman, Junt and Walker running together. Ryan, another one of the drivers, I believe, tonight running one of the older McLarens. The same M16 configuration that Hlavac is running and unfortunately just retired with. As Alberto Quino does the fastest lap of the race at the 45.559. That is very, very quick indeed. And Richard Wilkes, I know he was hoping for a good race here, but looks like that McLaren is not quite up to snuff here at the moment. Jason Fitch holding on to almost where he started. He's 18th at the moment, started 17th. Chacon, I believe, is the one who has passed him up into 17th. Whited in 16th at the moment, with Watering 15th, and Yareb for the Fletcher Racing team in 14th. And then Grant Riddall and Adam Hackman still running together, 12th and 13th. With Canola now down in 11th, because Mikey Grems has passed him. And Shearer still holding on to that 9th place. So nice opening pace for Dana, I must say. And Shlapinski likewise, and Ray Riddall likewise. He is definitely getting that Lola to go very quick here. Well, it looks like he may be passed right here by the Foyt. Actually, no. Trying to pull out of the draft, and that immediately slowed the Coyote down quite a bit. I believe Alberto's had a bit of a moment, because he's down in 6th and a bit behind the rest. As Yates is up into 5th, Fröxen now 4th, with Jason White in 3rd. You have Boss in 2nd, but 2.5 seconds in the almost 3 seconds in the lead now. Alberto Equino. But I wonder if he is making fuel at the moment. That'll be interesting to watch. As it looks like Bouchard may be in trouble there. Looks like Bouchard may have disconnected. Richard Wilkes is out of the race. Oh dear me, I wonder what happened there. Looks like he was off quite wildly somewhere. Oh no. That looks like Bouchard and Wilkes together. Looks like they both went off in turn 3. And both of them unfortunately left the racing surface. So I believe that may be both of them out indeed. That's very, very unfortunate. And here we can see the massive pace at the front of the field, because here is Angel May in the Volstedt, and here comes Alberto Quino in the VPH6. We can visually see the pace difference between an Offenhauser and a Cosworth. That was absolutely nothing that Angel May can do about that. But good to see. From what I can see, Angel is running consistent lap times, so that's all we can really expect and hope for Angel May to be able to do. And the same, I suppose, can be said for Luciano Roja, who looks to be at a pretty decent speed as well. I love that AMC engine, I have to say that. That is so nicely sounding. But then again, I like the stock block in 74, and that was a bit special as well. Oh, and here comes, that is Adam Hackman passing Canola, so Hackman up into 11th. Someone looks to have dropped back. Oh, Grant Riddall is out. Whatever happened to Grant? See if we can possibly get back far enough to have a look at that. Doesn't look like we will be able to. No, but unfortunately Grant Riddall in the Grant King Agashanian Racing Team car is out. And it's just one of those things. This is definitely an engine braking track, so it's what can happen as Hackman goes up the inside of Mikey Grems and up into 10th. Let's see if he can hold on to that position though, because Grems is looking for the cutback. Oh, we're running side by side through 2. Looks like Hackman has the speed on the outside though to hold on. Looks like Hackman has started a little bit careful and speeding up, which is the correct way to do it, as Angel May gets out of the way in the Volstedt, as the quicker cars go around her. That Volstead, unfortunately, definitely not situated well for this super speedway. It's, I'd say, more a car for the road courses and the like mid-speed ovals, if that's can be a thing. And it looks like Hackman now is closing in on Schlapinski as well. So let's jump on board with Schlapinski and see if he can hold on from Hackman as we follow with him for a lap or two. Schlapinski is loose. Looks like he was able to hold on to it and keep the speed up fairly well despite that. I was going to say it looked like Hackman was in a position then, but he got a lot of washout in two. I believe from riding on board there, you can sort of hear why I say this is an engine breaker, because there's a lot of full throttle and very little rest for the engine. As I believe, unfortunately, the AMC has dropped back quite a bit in the hands of Jason Fitch, and Jason is in the pit lane. That's a very early stop. Ooh, he has had an off somewhere, so that is unfortunately repairs, which can take quite a bit, but at least nice to see that he brought it back to the pit lane. Ooh, as Wattman has held up Jason White. Ooh, very close indeed between Fredriksson and White for third and fourth. Simon Wattman doing nothing wrong there. He just drove his line and the other cars had to find their way around him. So White very wide there, as is Hackman, but White and Fredriksson did a good job getting past him, and here comes Yates up the inside. Looks like he'll be quite easily passed as well. So while we looked at that, Hackman has gotten past Schlapinski, so Hackman up into 9th in the Penske. So Hackman looking to do well for the captain here. Oh, someone has had a big off. That unfortunately looks like the parts of a Finley possibly. Let's see, it's coming close, coming slowly down the front stretch here. Oh, it's Fredriksson! Fredriksson has had an off! Oh, dearie me. Oh, Fredriksson and White! Oh, dearie me, so both of them are out! Oh, no. I believe at least it was Fredriksson. It can be... Well, I'm not entirely sure. That was definitely Fredriksson. I can't say which other car that was. I wonder if that may have been an unfortunate Swede-on-Swede action, maybe. But that's unfortunately Fredriksson very slowly having to get back to the pits. Let's see, I believe that may have been a lapped car. That was indeed Jason White. So Jason White is out as well. Oh, dearie me. So my pick for the race win is out. That's very unfortunate. I shouldn't have picked Jason for the win, obviously. So my sincerest apologies to him, as Fredriksson is trying to get his crippled car back to the pits for repairs and see if he can finish the race to score a few more points if anyone else drops out. Well, Oh, that was Jason White dropping back to 21st. I thought someone else had DNF'd for a moment then. So we'll have to wait and see if Jason decides to join us or not, but I can understand him being frustrated at that. So Hackman up 2 positions to 7th, Schlapinski up into 8th, Grems 9th and Canola 10th. And Dana Shura up into 6th. I think she is very happy with that in the McLaren M24. Ray Riddle up into 5th with Alberto Ibanez in 4th. Yakes in 3rd now.
User joined your
With
channel.
Boss still 2nd and Equino enjoying now a 10-second lead at the front of the field. That is absolutely incredible pace. As I believe we are now joined by the very unfortunate, by the looks of things, Jason White. What, if you don't mind me asking, what happened then?
I made a mistake. I was going to change my boost setting, and I hit the gear lever instead.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know. I still can't quite believe that I did that.
Oh dearie me.
I don't know. I just brain burp, I guess, and I feel awful because Jake's got collected by me as I was trying to sort out what had just happened. My brain froze, and I was trying to figure out what happened. By the time I figured it out, it caught him by surprise, and I gather he got caught up in it as well. But I just, it's a good thing I'm not a real Penske driver, or he would fire me. Because I don't know. This is.
Yeah, I can understand the disappointment and the frustration with that. For what it's worth, it was Fredriksson who got caught out, not Yates, in that incident.
Well, still, it's.
Yeah, it's still very unfortunate, but
It's unfortunate, and I apologize profusely to Jakob. Was totally just completely my fault, blunder, and I wouldn't blame him for being completely upset with me. So that's it.
well,
But, you know, these things happen. You got to own it when they happen, and I made a mistake. So no two ways about it. I was focused too much on the boost game and not enough on the driving game.
well,
I
that's
guess the lesson to learn from this, I guess, is to drive your own race and not react as much to people around you, and don't let them dictate your. I don't know. Still processing this.
well, it's very honest of you to own up to that mistake, and I'm sure Ferguson will accept that apology. Maybe not right now, but by the time he has reached your apology, I think he'll be willing to accept it. As you say, it's one of those things that happen, but I think you will be happy to take away with you that the car looked to be very well hooked up for this track, and I'd assume that will put you in a good stead for good place for future super speedways.
Yeah, provided I don't make the same mistake twice. So, I don't know. I mean, definitely I'm going to have to think about remapping the buttons, because if I can get them that easily confused under pressure, then I've got to change where they are. So.
Well, I suppose that's why they had the gear lever down the bottom of the cockpit and all the buttons elsewhere.
Yeah, well, it's a unique problem if you have all the buttons on the wheel. So.
True.
All right.
Well, if you want to join me as a pundit, then please feel free to
be
stay.
perfectly honest, I'm not in the mood. But,
That's understandable. Thank you very much for joining me at least and letting us know what happened.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yep. Take care, mate.
User disconnected from your channel.
So that's a very understandably disappointed and frustrated and whatever else you would call it, Jason White there. As we said, that's just one of those things that can happen, and all of a sudden we are right within where the fuel window sort of starts. Lap 26, as we can see one of the lapped cars heading into the pits there. I'm not entirely sure who that was. Couldn't quite see the tag on them. That was Mikey Grems actually in quite early, lap 25. Well, start of lap 26, but that seems very, very early for scheduled stops, so he will need to do a bit of work to make the rest of the race on fuel, I believe. As here comes Lapinski as well into the pits, so a little bit more on schedule, as it were. Or maybe that was not, that was... No, that was Lapinski, but Lapinski way down now in 18th. Whatever happened to him? He was up in the top 10. Let's see if we can possibly see if... Oh, he's had enough. Oh, looks like enough in turn 3. Let's see. All loose in turn 3. Oh, and heading the outside barrier. Oh, almost collecting another car. I'm not entirely sure who that was, but that's repairs for Lapinski, unfortunately. So he is now actually behind Angel May as well. So Angel May, steady and consistent driving at the moment, climbing to 18th at this particular time. Ryan Walker in for what looks like a tire and fuel stop in regulation, as it were, and watering with a dangerous entry or close entry by the looks of things there. Chacon up into 11th at the moment, with Whited in 10th. I'd assume all the leaders being in now or soon, as Juha Boos has taken over the lead, so Equino must have been headed into the pit lane. There he is. And leaving now, and behind him I believe that is David Yates. It is indeed. I wonder if Yates may have played a 2-stop strategy there. Sorry, it's 2-tire stop strategy. Just taking 2 tires instead of 4. Because that looks like he gained quite a bit on Equino during that pit phase. Oh no, Yates running wide on the exit and spins! Oh, he saves it though. Very good save, but that loses him quite a bit of time. And possibly some positions as well, because here comes Watman and Roja, both a lap behind him. But that's quite a bit of time lost for Yates on the pit exit. Everyone being careful on the entry, but clearly the exit can cause troubles as well. We can see someone has had a bit of a moment heading into the pit lane, as Canola is into the pits, Alberto Ibanez into the pits, and Juha Boos exit in the pits. As here comes Equino round turn 1, so Equino looks like to be fairly comfortably ahead of Juha Boos after the first round of pit stops. And here comes Schurer into the pit lane, as is Hackman and Ray Riddle. So I'd assume Hackman will want to try and get ahead of Ray Riddle here. Oh dearie me, that looks like a very... Oh dearie me, that's contact actually. That was Raul Yareb leaving his pit stall and all hell breaking loose behind. Oh, that was a very quick stop for Hackman. I wonder if he got everything done there. That looked a little bit too quick, maybe. Well, Equino takes the lead back after the pit stops, and it looks like Juha Boos should be able to retake 3rd place. But if that was a fuel-only stop, that's very brave from Adam Hackman. But he comes out in what is 3rd right now. Let's have a quick ride on board with him, see if everything is alright. Oh, that doesn't sound good. No, he didn't get the fuel into the car. The pit crew made a mistake. I believe he's out of fuel. Or will he even be able to make it into the pit lane? I believe if he is in the pit lane, the pit crew will be able to push him down the pit road very slowly, as Daniel May heads into the pit lane and tries not to run into Adam Hackman. That's very unfortunate for the Penske man. That's another mistake this time by the pit crew themselves. I believe at least if it's modded in, the pit crew will be able to push him down the pit lane, although it'll be very slow indeed. That'll be a very close call indeed. I don't think he'll make it on momentum alone. So that will be a whole heap of time and positions lost for Adam Hackman. As I believe he is now under pit crew speed, more or less, or starter speed maybe. Well, I really hope he'll be able to make it into his pit stall. If not, that is heartbreaking. No, he's retired, so that's another retirement for Penske. So both cars out within 10 laps of each other. That is incredibly unfortunate for Adam. Because he too had some incredible pace in this race. Deary me. When you're in a bit of trouble in the dirt, yeah, there, or washout, or whatever you would like to call it. Aquino losing a little bit of his lead, down to 8.4 seconds, but he is doing it on fuel, so at this kind of speed, unless he ends up in any kind of trouble, it looks like he is in prime position to take the win, but everything can still happen, obviously. Juha Boos retains his second place after the fuel stops has come through. David Yates up into third after the pit stops, with Dana Schurer, with Ray Riddall in fourth, Dana Schurer up into fifth, Alberto Bernier in sixth, Thiago Canola seventh, Jason Whited in eighth, Bun Chacon in ninth, and Raul Yareb rounding out the top 10. Some drivers gaining a lot during the pit stops, and Ryan Walker up into 11th. I don't think he was expecting a possible top 10 ahead of this race, but if he can score that, he'll be very happy with that, I'm sure. Mikey Grems losing time now in 12th, as he's trying to unlap himself, so he must have had some kind of issue before or during the pit stops, because he was further up than that before them. And we can see from the speed that he is about the same pace as Whited, possibly a little bit quicker, but not yet able to unlap himself. August Watering 13th, second race at ISO for the Indiana man. And I'm sure with this being the Indianapolis of the West, he will be wanting to do as well as possible around here, despite the shortcomings of that Watson chassis. And it looks like the top 13 is very well on the cards, and pretty good indeed. Luciano Rocha, the Brazilian, up in 14th, but deciding to let Ferguson go, so Ferguson looks to be at a pretty decent speed despite a slightly, possibly crippled car. And Watman in 15th, David Junt in 16th, running as well as he can with a somewhat crooked setup. I know he was struggling getting his new setup of wheel and auxiliaries to work, and still not quite happy with it, but at least able to run. Ferguson in 17th and have 17 seconds to make up on David Junt, and it looks like on pace alone he should be able to make it, as he's gained a second or two a lap on the Swiss driver. Schlapinski after his off in 18th, with Aniel May currently 19th, and Jason Fitch currently 20th, 32 seconds behind May and de Volstedt, with our retirees so far being Adam Hackman, Jason White, Grant Riddall, Richard Wilkes, Jules Bouchard, Peter Lavach and Martin Lasina. But with it being more or less halfway into the race, let's have a quick look at the trivia question for you all to ponder on while we watch the last half of the race. But the question for you tonight is, who won the 1971, that being the first California 500 at Ontario Motor Speedway, by a full lap? Was it A, Joe Leonard? Was it B, Art Pollard? Or was it C, Jim Malloy? I have to say I got that one wrong, but then again that's about 22 years before my time. So I think I'm sort of excused for not knowing the answer to that particular question. So let's have a quick look back in the action. Let's see if there's any fights out on track, as someone is running very slowly down the pit straight. Couldn't quite see who that was, but that looks like a possible blown engine or off for someone. See if we can possibly find out who that is. That is rolling very slowly indeed. I'm afraid that might be Luciano Roja indeed. So the Finley Eagle in trouble. Looks like it's completely out of power as well, so blown engine or an off, causing the engine to break, and just trying, I think, to avoid a yellow being thrown by getting down to the pit apron, but not quite able to make it. But I think that should be good enough to not throw a yellow, but unfortunately that looks like Roja is out of this race. So unfortunately the Finley Eagle and Brazilian combination with Roja behind the wheel out of the race after 38 laps. But there's still one Brazilian left in this race, Bruno Chacon, running 9th at the moment for Gilmore Racing Team. And I think if he can finish there, he'll be very happy with that kind of finish. But seeing as there is so I'm just struggling a little bit here. Let's see, like so. While there is a bit of a lull in the action, we'll take a quick break to listen to these important messages, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
I like pickles, but they don't like me.
Send your stomach some Digel.
I like pizza, but it doesn't like me.
Send your stomach some Digel.
Digel's special combination of antacid and anti-gas ingredients gives you fast, gentle relief from acid indigestion, heartburn, and gas in just minutes.
I like hot dogs, but they don't like me.
Send your stomach some Digel.
You're never gonna believe the deal I made on this Toyota Corolla.
You asked for it, you got it, Toyota.
I got a great year-end deal on a tough Toyota truck.
You asked for it, you got it, Toyota.
It's the best time ever to buy a brand new 78 Toyota car or truck. You get your money's worth and more on every one. But act fast for better selection still at 78 prices.
Just ask for it, you get it, Toyota.
You must be ready for a beer.
I'm ready for a new Schlitz Light.
There's a new taste in Schlitz Light. The taste of natural ingredients brewed into a Pilsner beer. New Schlitz Light. Still less filling with a taste that's bigger than light.
We climbed it because it was there.
And we came back down because this was here.
Schlitz Light. Natural Pilsner beer.
You are about to see something incredible from Tyco. Silver Streak Curve Huggers now defy gravity as they hang on through Tyco's double loops. But that's not all. Turn out the lights. See the headlights go on. Watch the whole set glow in the dark for real night racing. And light up your youngster's face. Night Glow Double Loop Racing. From Tyco, of course.
We are back here at Ontario Motor Speedway. 44 laps in the books, on lap 45, and Alberto Quino still in the lead at about 10 seconds ahead of Uabor still in second, with David Yates still in third, Revidol in fourth, with Dana Shure fifth, Alberto Ibanez still in sixth, with Canola still in seventh, Jason Whited up into eighth now, with Chacon ninth, and Raul Yareb rounding out the top 10. Mikey Graham still trying to work his way up, now in 11th and trying to unlap himself from the M24 driven by Dana Schurer. And likewise, Jakob Ferguson up into 14th at the moment, trying to unlap himself from both the M24 and what I believe in the hands of Mikey Grahams is the Wildcat. Ryan Walker running 12th at the moment, so still way up there in the top half of the field, and I think the Scotsman will be happy with that. August Watering in the Watson still running 13th, but I believe by the looks of things closing in on the M16 McLaren up ahead. Ferguson, as I mentioned, in 14th, unlapped himself from Mikey Grahams that lap, with Jund in 15th, Schlapinski 16th now, with Filch 17th, Angel Maiden 18th, and Seymour Watman unfortunately has retired while we were looking at those messages, and it happened a couple of laps ago at least. So it looks like either you have both had a bit of luck with the lap traffic, or Alberto Jr. is looking after his fuel and engine a little bit, because you have both is closed in another second since we last had a look at the gap between them. And Yates still holding on well there for the Patrick Racing in third. Revidol fourth, and looks like he is pulling away from Dana Schurer in fifth. Ibanez and Canola still quite close to one another as they go past Whited, or Whited is trying to get past Canola. Looks like a bit of both. Actually, a bit of a battle here at the moment. So that's nice to see that there's some kind of battling going on past halfway. Although it looks like, unfortunately, Whited is dropping back from the two in front. But here is a battle for position between Raul Yareb and Mikey Grahams as we jump on board with the Fletcher Racing Team, Budweiser sponsored Wildcat, with Mikey Grahams just behind. As Mikey Grahams gets sideways and Raul Yareb hits the outside barrier. So both of them with their own moments. It looks like Mikey Grahams lost far more time than Raul Yareb did with that incident. August Watering now 12th, with Ryan Walker 13th, so unfortunately that was a pass for position that we have missed. And you're now not too far behind either. And Fredriksson now back to 15th, so I wonder if Fredriksson has been in the pits for a quick top-up maybe. That looks like one of the Gilmore cars. That's Chacon and Alberto Junior, with Junior lapping the Brazilian for what I believe will be the second time. And Grem still hasn't been able to close up on Yereb, so Yereb definitely doing well once again in one of these USAC series races. The Croat feeling right at home by the looks of things on these oval circuits. Where someone looks to have had an off in the not too distant past. Doesn't look like it's any of the top 5 at least. It's David Juntus been off, unfortunately. So finally it became too much for the Swiss driver, with having to deal with a crooked layout of car and well, not car, but wheel and auxiliary combination. Looks like he lost it running behind Ryan Walker there, and unfortunately, presumably the engine and the crash was too much for the engine to handle, and that's unfortunately David Jund out of this race. Oh, as Ryan Walker runs down onto the apron and very nearly loses this, David Yates is into the pits once again. So let's see if we make a quick calculation of the fuel on that one. He pitted on, I believe, lap 26. 20, 40. That is 27, so that should be well enough within the limits, because that is 25. No, wait a minute. 20, 70, 65. Yeah, that is well within the fuel limits, so David Yates should be good to go to the end of the race from here, as he rejoins in what looks to be 7th place, and possibly will be 8th, as Whited is coming round with a full head of steam. And Yates will slot in behind Whited and Alberto Junior. Alberto Junior coming in there with a lot of speed though, but Yates not giving way there. But he is the first one to blink out of the leading group, as Alberto Quino now heads into the pit lane for his final stop. And in behind, I believe that is Jason Fitch heading into the pit lane. Look like his car, in terms of colors at least, as that is one of the Gilmore Racing Team cars. That is Schlapinski in for his final stop. And I believe number 19 is Mikey Grems. And that is Watering in behind, I believe. As there goes Equina out of the pits, in 4th at the moment. Here comes Watering, and into the pits comes... That's at least Alberto Ibanez. I'm not entirely sure on the 78 car. Oh, yes, I believe it's Raul Yareb has had an off. If I'm not misidentifying. I'm not. Raul Yareb has been off. In the final turn. Let's see. Oh, I'm not sure if he was trying to head for pit lane, but it looks like he was trying to slow down, so that is another pit entry mishap. Oh, it's another one spins heading into the pit lane. Oh, that was a big off as well. Let's see if we can possibly find out who that was. Oh, was that Alberto Ibanez? It may very well have been, so that will be a long pit stop for him. He rejoins us in 7th. So the race is starting to take its toll as Schurer is into the pit lane. Yates goes up into 4th. Bors coming out to the pit lane, so let's see if Juha Bors is able to hold on to his effective 2nd place. Doesn't look like he will, because here comes Yates. So that early pit stop means Yates takes effective 2nd away from Juha Bors. Let's see what happens with that as the race transpires, as Equino, effective race leader, retains that position as Ray Riddle heads into the pit lane in that Lola. As it may have been Whited spinning as well heading into the pit lane. It's one of the two. As Equino takes the lead back once again and 12.5 seconds in the lead ahead of David Yates. Followed by Bors now in 3rd. Ray Riddle rejoining in what looks to be 4th, as Schurer has a bit to go still. So Ray Riddle in the Lola 4th. Very nice consistent race from him so far. Schurer likewise in 5th in the M24 McLaren. Thiago Canola 6th. Alberto Ibanez currently 7th. Brun Chacon in 8th after the pit stop, so he has climbed 1 position. Grems in 9th. August Watering in 10th at the moment, with Walker in 11th. Fredriksson in 12th. Raul Yareb in the pit lane for repairs. Jason Whited, I believe, by the looks of things, yep, likewise in the pits for repairs, but he is just about to leave pit lane. Schlapinski in 15th, but it looks like he will be 14th as he streaks past Jason Whited. Well, someone else looks to have had an off in the first corner. Or first turn. Oh no, it's Angel May! Oh no! So let's see what happened here. Ryan Walker trying to go up the inside. And Fredriksson in behind. Oh no! Oh, that's one of those Jason White's key to the race. Don't expect the one you're lapping to have seen you. I don't think Angel May saw Fredriksson in behind, and Fredriksson dove for it, and unfortunately contact was made and Angel May is out after 55 laps. Oh dearie me, that is very unfortunate indeed. Angel was doing a very nice consistent job, but unfortunately it was not to be a finish tonight either. But at least I suppose one could look at it that she got way further than she did at Phoenix last time out. Fredriksson and that looks like Ray Riddle in a bit of a close situation there. Fredriksson still trying to unlap himself as well as he can, because I believe one more position and he'll be scoring 10 more points in this race. When Frederiksen flying in into turn 1. It looks like things taking no prisoners at all. As there's about 54 seconds to make up, so 20 laps and that amount of time will be quite a stretch, but maybe. Especially if Grems runs into any kind of troubles. But unfortunately it looks like the top 3 is very much set here, because Equino enjoys now a 14-second lead. David Yates still with a 5-second gap to Johan Bors behind him. So it looks like at least one Penske chassis will finish this race, although in privately owned hands by Russ Pollack Racing. Ray Riddle still 4th and doing a good job for Lola and Chaparral Racing. Dana Shure in 5th for Jerry O'Connell in the McLaren M24. Very nice drive from her tonight. Thiago Canola for Alex Morales Racing up into 6th. So he's gotten past Alberto Ibanez, and he did that in the pit stops. As here comes Alberto Ibanez for All American Racers. Bruno Chacon doing his work for Gilmore Racing Team in 8th. Staying consistent where Schlapinski was unable to. Michael Graham's currently 9th for Timon Gelhausen. And August Watering now in 10th, having pitted, I'd assume. So 13 seconds to make up for Jakob Frederiksen to score 10 more points in this race. Make that 12 seconds, so that's why he is driving 10th and possibly 11th in a couple of places around this racetrack. And Ryan Walker, after all the pit stops, in 12th, so I think he'll be happy to finish there if he does. He has a full lap to Schlapinski, so he shouldn't lose any more positions unless he runs into trouble. Schlapinski 13th, and all sideways crossed up, so still struggling with that car. Whited after his pit entry mishap in 14th. And doesn't look like he is quick enough to catch Schlapinski up ahead, so 14th looks to be the best Whited can hope for at the moment, with Jason Fitch likewise in 15th, and Raoul Reb likewise 16th, and the final one of our runners. Well, look at that speed difference. Frederiksen really going for it. And lapping himself from Bruno Chacon there. So closing in on 10 laps to go, but let's actually keep an eye on this possible 10th place fight for 10th place, as it's now only 5 seconds between Watering and Frederiksen. Let's actually jump on board with Frederiksen and see what he sees in front of him, chasing that speck up in front, which is August Watering's Watson. We can clearly tell, at least I noticed, Ferguson had a big loose moment, exiting 1, but he is really trying to get close to watering, and he is succeeding in it. So the question is Ferguson making fuel and being able to finish the race? And within the fuel limit that is applied by USAC here. Well, it looks more or less like a foregone conclusion that Ferguson will blast past watering at the end of the straight here. There he goes, up the inside and past. Oh, and Ferguson running, watering running very wide there, and looks like he's already dropped almost a second, and that's probably the position done and dusted, unless there's any kind of fuel game to be played yet in this race, as Alberto Quino, well in the lead of the race, still does the quickest lap at a 45.2. So Alberto Jr. playing by the game of you want to go the quickest you can. As another one going very quickly here is Canola, right in behind Schurer for 5th and 6th. As we jump on board with Schurer, looking back at Canola. Annabella for 5th and 6th. Thought Canola would have a stab then, but decided against it. Westana is really wide in the dirty air behind Bruno Chacon's Coyote, and here comes Canola up the inside. Schurer running wide twice. Unless she can use the draft, I think Canola will go past, but Schurer using the draft from that Coyote in front. Let's see if Canola can go up the inside here, now into 3. Not quite able to get the line. Oh, contact! No! No, 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 no! Oh, dearie me. Will Schurer's keeping the car off the wall. Very impressive. Let's hope no one hits her as everyone comes around. Ibanez and Equino very correctly slows down, but unfortunately there was contact as both of them ended up on the same piece of tarmac towards the exit of 3, and Schurer spins and dropped to 7th as Ibanez goes up to 6th and Canola up to 5th. With Rain Vidal still safely in 4th by the looks of things, with Boss in 3rd and dropping back from Yakes in 2nd, and well in front Alberto Equino, Alberto Jr. with soon to be 4 laps to go in this race. And another fastest lap of 44.9. Wow-wee! Alberto is flying tonight. So Alberto still in the lead, well in front, really going all he can. Yakes there in 2nd. There comes Walker 12th. There's Juha Boss in the 3rd. Whited in 14th, Grems 9th. I wonder if Ferguson had to splash then, because I think it said he was in 11th. Ridall in 4th, watering back into 10th, so Ferguson has indeed had to pit again for a quick splash towards the end of this race. And Schurer looks to be closing in on Ibanez. Let's go back there for a lap here. See if Schurer is indeed closing in or not. I believe the gap is smaller than it was before. And Ibanez and Shura back at it again. For anyone not knowing, I believe they had one of the closest finishes. I believe the second closest finish we've ever had, back when we were racing at another site, which I believe was about a hundredth of a second between Shura and Ibanez, with Ibanez taking the victory back then. But it doesn't look like Shura is quite able to close in enough to make a difference. Oh, she scrapes the wall as well in between 1 and 2, so trying as hard as she may, I don't think she will be close enough, as I believe Alberto is closing in on the final lap of this race. 2 laps to go. With now 2 laps to go and 26 seconds in the lead, and another 45.4. I was looking at the wrong timing there, so unless Alberto makes a huge mistake in these final 2 laps, looks like he will take the win. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it'll be his debut win here at ISO. And just like in real life, I think he'll be looking at hearing all kinds of strange noises and seeing strange temperatures and digits on his dashboard, but all being well, and he's able to do one more lap as he comes onto the start, his final lap of this race. And in behind Watering in 10th. And taking it nice and easy, waiting for Watering to opening the door before he goes through. But he's still pulling away from David Yates in 3rd. Absolutely incredible pace from Alberto this evening. And we incredibly got a full green race, so just over an hour. These 200 miles has flown by. But coming through the final turn to take the checkered flag, Alberto Quino takes his first winner size at ISO. Big congratulations to Alberto, who takes his debut win, and I'm sure he will be extremely happy with that. In second and coming through the final turn now, David Yates will, I believe at least, take the lead in the championship, finishing second here tonight at Ontario Motor Speedway. And coming through the final turn, Juha Boos, I believe he was unable to finish last time out, so 3rd place here. He'll be very happy with that, having only been able to practice today because he's suffered a slight injury to his foot. Apparently no pain in racing, but very uncomfortable, so I think he'll be very happy with that. Ray Riddle, very nicely driven in the Lola, finishing 4th here in round 2. Tiago Canola finishes 5th, with Alberto Ibanez in 6th, Shura in 7th, Chacon in 8th, with Mikey Grems in 9th. Another good race here from him. August Watering finishes in the top 10, which I think he'll be fairly happy with. Jakob Fröksen finishes 11th, so a good recovery drive at least. Ryan Walker finishes 12th. Shlapinski finishes 13th, with Whited in 14th. Jason Fitch 15th, and Raul Jereb is the last of our runners, finishing 16th, with our retirees being Aniel May, David Junt, Simon Watman, Luciano Rocha, Adam Hackman, Jason White, Grant Riddle, Richard Wilkes, Jules Bouchard, Peter Hlavac and Martin Lasina. But Alberto Quino with the first win of his ISO career, he'll be very happy with that, I am absolutely sure of it.
User joined your channel.
As we are joined by our third place finisher, Juha Bors. Congratulations, Juha. You must be ecstatic with the finishing on the podium tonight.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, I was actually hoping to finish second, but I didn't have the speed to do anything against David in the final stint. So. Third isn't bad.
Well, considering
Alberto was really quick, so I couldn't catch him.
Yeah, that was very impressive, the pace he had in that car. Did you suspect before the event that he was that quick, or did that come as a surprise?
But the only time I could catch up with him was when I redlined it for 3 seconds at the end of each straight. So I thought, no, that's not the plan. I dropped it as soon as I had a gap to David in third. Got the podium. So good one.
Yeah, I think looked like you had a bit of a battle early on, and then all about staying consistent.
Yeah, I just settled for points rather than trying to win it, because that was going to be too difficult. Quicker. Well done to him.
Yeah, certainly very impressive, and looking at what's ahead as I just try to get to where we are going next. We are heading to Texas World Speedway, which is another very quick track for the Course 200. Looking at being able to finish third here, I sort of expect you to look forward to possibly finishing at least top 10 yet again there.
Oh, going by the car I have, I should definitely aim for top 10. Can't do any worse. This car can do top 5, so it should really be there. If it's not, then it's me you have to blame for. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good. Should be a good race. Should suit the car.
That's good to hear. Well, I don't have any more questions, I'm afraid, that I can think of. So I have one more question, I suppose, which is for everyone watching as well. The trivia question for this evening was who won the 1971 California 500, the first 500 at Ontario Motor Speedway, by a full lap in 1971? Was it A, Joe Leonard? Was it B, Art Pollard? Or C, Jim Malloy? Do you have any?
I'll go for A.
You're going for A, Joe Leonard, and you are 100% correct. It was indeed Joe Leonard who won the inaugural California 500 by a full lap. So
well, at least I won something tonight.
Well, you won a podium finish and you won the trivia question, so big congratulations indeed.
Thank you.
And let's see, it doesn't look like we have anyone else heading in here for an interview, so thank you very much for joining me, Juha, for a quick post-race interview, and also thank you to all our racers for putting on a really good show here tonight. Some good racing and some good fun to watch. Before we cap off the broadcast, what we have coming up here at ISO, we have next weekend the third round of the 1986 Formula 1 Championship. Historically, one of the fuel heaviest tracks on the F1 calendar. It's Gran Premio di San Marino, the San Marino Grand Prix, in the small principality. And if it's anything to go by from what happened in 85 real life and 86 real life race, that'll be a absolute stonker of a race. And I know you're driving in the McLaren. I suppose you are looking forward to that one, seeing as you have the Porsche engine behind you.
Yes. Again, track really well suited to my car. I'll not say I'll win it, but I'll definitely try to be close to it.
Sounds like a good plan. And then 2 weeks from now, we have the Course 200 from Texas Super Speedway. Texas World Speedway. I never learned which is which and what name is which. The third round of this USAC 1978 championship. And that will be on February 28th. And then on March the 7th, we have one of the crown jewels of the ISO season, Grand Prix de Monaco, the Monaco Grand Prix, which will be round 4 of our 1986 F1 Championship. And that will surely be one of the most spectacular races of that season. And I am really looking forward to that. I hope I personally get a drive there, but obviously we'll have to wait and see, because at least so far this year the cars has been going like butter in hot sun ahead of each event. But yeah, anyway, apart from that, any final thoughts from this event you have before we cap off?
Well, I hope the racing will be just as exciting next week. I don't think that should be a problem. You all at Imola next week?
That should hopefully be a good race indeed. And we'll see you all next week for Gran Premio di San Marino for the F1 86 Championship. But until then, take good care of yourselves. I hope you all have a great week, and good night, and have a wonderful time.
Sound muted.